why we're doing that. So if the Bureau of Census dictates who will be counted, and based on that, the cutoff is 20 weeks, because I just did my class on that. That's why I know that. So, the Bureau of Census, it's not the state.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, but there's gotta be some law defining that, because if you gotta do a birth certificate and a death certificate, that's gotta be required, that's legal, it requires that, so. Okay. Good.
What percentage would you say you have of the more difficult births?
What percentage do I have of difficult births? If I could have a penny for every time a couple asked me, how long is my labor going to be? How much is my baby going to weigh? Do you think I'll have an easy labor? I'd be a millionaire. Almost everyone asks those questions. The percentage of difficult births that I've had, I've never really put that into a figure, because every single pregnancy, labor, and delivery is different. Every single one. And one of the questions I always ask at our postpartum visit is, how did labor compare to what you imagined it would be? I have many moms that say, I'm never doing that again.
And then that changes.
Yeah. Somewhere along the line that changes. Yeah. That's right. That's right. I've had a handful of births that went very quickly. I was at the hospital one afternoon with the dad, waiting for mom to get there. She was being brought by her sister. They had had to drop off their other child at a babysitter. Dad's phone rings, and we hear a baby crying. Baby was born in the car.
Oh, wow.
And so he said, okay, where are you? I mean, it was a total shock, because it wasn't the birth they had planned at all. So we stood there. Here I had my big backpack on and my big birthing ball with me, and he had all of their gear, and it was like, okay, how is she getting to the hospital? Is she coming by ambulance, or is she coming in the car? Well, they had her coming by ambulance. So I said, okay, I know where to go, come on. So we were able to go down and wait in the ambulance bay for him to greet the ambulance when it got there. And I got great pictures of him kissing mom and baby as they're coming out of the ambulance. So there have been births like that. There's been births where the doctor has literally snapped on gloves and caught that baby. So, and then there's the other side where they're 10 hours. Those are the good ones. 24 hours. Yes.
Okay, I'm still haunted by this experience when I was a student nurse. And I'll probably ask you this, and how you supported the family. The baby will come out with some physical deformities that you did not expect. The one that I witnessed, I was assisting the delivery, and the boy came out with a cleft palate. And I don't know what to say, because it was my first time in just assisting, and I'm sure if I'm the parent, I don't know what to feel at that moment. Instead of joy, question maybe, and then what if you're born with no hands or no feet or something like that? How you can make it easy for the family, or how you can support the family at that moment?
Okay, so the question is, how do you support a family when the baby comes out deformed in some way? Well, I don't know how long ago that was, but generally things like that are caught in the 20-week ultrasound that mothers have. But if it's not caught, I haven't had that experience yet. If that were to happen, I would not be the one to acknowledge that. That's not my place. That would be the doctor's job. I would still celebrate, take pictures, congratulate them on their new baby. It's still a baby. They may not have a full hand. But it's still going to live and function, and doctors will take hold of that situation generally and notify the parents. I do have a friend who had a home birth, and when the baby was born, the midwife knew immediately that the baby had Down syndrome. She didn't say anything. The next day she came back to assess the baby, and she didn't say anything. By the third day, when the midwife came back, the woman said, "Something doesn't look quite right." And then the midwife talked to her and said, "This is what I suspect." So she waited, in that case, for the parent to recognize that something wasn't quite right. And that opened the door for her to then talk about it. And then it was confirmed later.
Good way to handle it.
It was. It was an excellent way to handle it. It was still a baby that was born. There was still celebration. And that's probably the way I would have done that as well.
Is there a charge?
Is there a charge for my services? Yes, there is a charge for my birth doula services, and there is not a charge for my bereavement doula charges at all. I do that, no charge. But the reason I charge is because I have spent many hours getting educated. I spend several hours with a couple, helping them think and talk about the type of birth they are going to want, and exploring the options. Like I said, we've met at least 3 or 4 times before the birth, and then we never know how long I'm going to be there. And so I do charge. And I charge on a sliding scale generally, depending upon their income and who they are. I do a lot of free births.
As her husband, I can tell you she could make more money than the God. In the hospital setting, when an adult dies, the family has a certain amount of time with the patient in the room before the body is moved to the morgue. Is it that way also with a newborn, a stillbirth baby?
Okay, so the question was, in the hospitals, when an adult or older child or teenager dies, the hospital generally only allows them so much time with the body before it needs to be taken to the morgue. Does that happen when there's a baby? It could. It could. But the reason they're doing that, the reason they're rushing them, is because the hospital needs the room. They've got another patient that's in the hallway that needs to come in that room, and that's why they put pressure on that family to get them to the morgue. There is no medical reason why those bodies need to be moved quickly, and especially with a child. They should be allowed to take as much time as they want, and they also have the right to say, "We are not ready for you to take our baby or our loved one."
I imagine that must be really hard time. Say they're fine with the body.
It is. It's a very tough time on the nurses that are present. It's a tough time on the families. A lot of times there's a lot of family that'll come in, and trying to take care of traffic in the ward can be hard for the nurses. The nurses know that around the corner there might be 3 or 4 beds in the hall, somebody needing to give birth. They don't want to give birth in a hall. So we need to get the rooms turned over. Also think about the mom whose baby has died. Where do they put her afterwards? She still goes to the postpartum floor. She still hears all the babies crying and sees the mamas walking up and down the hall pushing their little carts. They need to have a separate wing or something. Sometimes they'll put them at the end of the hall so that they are a little bit more removed from the parents. Yes?
I know you talked about the differences in different countries and whatnot, and how the death of a child is treated. Is there any special training that you go through to be culturally or ethnically sensitive?
I have not. Through my bereavement training that I have done, they have touched briefly on that, but if I were faced with that, I would quickly look that up and try to get a little bit familiar with that, what their customs might be. And if I didn't know, I'm not afraid to ask. What would your traditions be when a child dies? Do you have any family traditions? Do you have any history? What would you like to see happen? Yes?
What is the training required to become a doula? And are hospital obstetric wards happy to see doulas?
Okay, so the question is, how long is the training? What's required to become a doula, and are the hospitals accepting of us? The training that I took to become a birth doula was an entire weekend, so it was an all-day Friday, all-day Saturday, all-day Sunday kind of thing. That was a physical training. After that, there was a list of things that I had to complete. I had to go through childbirth training. I had to do a huge resource list of what was in town here. Excuse me, I had to read, I think it was like 6 books and do book reports on it. The list was quite extensive that I had to do. You have a year to complete that after your training. And I did it in 3 months and became certified. Your only real experience is by going to your first birth, unless you've had children yourself. But and then you just learn. Every birth is different, and you learn something at every birth. You don't get the training like a nurse does. The hospitals generally accept us, generally, because we are the ones who will clean up the mess before they get there. We are the ones who know where all the supplies are in the room and can grab that barf bag before the person needs it. Or the different supplies they may need, we're getting it or we're cleaning it up before a nurse even gets in the room. Doulas, there are doulas in Fresno who don't have good names, who come in, they get between a doctor or a nurse, and they say, this is what needs to happen. Blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, they create their own name. I've got a great name at the hospitals. I work mainly at Clovis because that's where most of my clients go. And when a new shift comes in or a new patient will come in and a nurse hears that it's me, they all want to work with me, which is a great feeling for me to have. So different hospitals accept us different ways. Downtown at Fresno Community, very accepting. St. Agnes has been a little bit slower on accepting doulas because they follow the book in what they want to see happen in a birth. Where Clovis is much more, we'll give you some more time. And the newer doctors, the younger doctors, are very accepting of the doulas. Where you get the older OBs who've been in practice forever, and they don't want anybody to interfere or to be there. You're going to give birth the way I tell you to give birth.
Do you have any training like aseptic technique training, or do you have Do you actually deliver babies?
I do not. I do nothing medical. I do nothing medical. Yeah. I have taken neonatal resuscitation and have certification in that. A good doula who wants to create a good business will continue to educate themselves. They'll continue to go to training, other trainings. They'll learn. I'm also a happiest baby on the block educator, and I've gone through that training online. I hold 2 birth certificates. My bereavement class was done online, but it was a very detailed, extensive training. I had to deal with death and what death meant to me before I could complete it.
Are you mostly contacted by parents who anticipate going through a difficult bereavement?
I am contacted by different parents. I have recently been in contact with Angel Babies, and they would like me to start teaching childbirth classes to those women that they have in their program that are expecting their rainbow babies, and the fear and the anxiety that they face. And they've asked me when they get that program up if I will help them.
What a unique spot God has put you in to deal with people in either very happy times or very difficult times.
It is a fun thing for me to do. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's exhausting because I always have to say, I'll be there if, I was supposed to give this presentation months ago. I had a baby.
And with the surgery too.
And I had cataract surgery as well, yeah. So God has placed me here, and I truly love it. I'm getting older. I'm getting a little slower, I think. But I'll keep doing it until God says to stop. So I'd like to thank you all for inviting me to come and to share. There's so much more I could share. So.
To say there is a name, oh, like no other name. there's freedom